End SARS. That was the demand. Just end SARS. But it wasn't the first time Nigerians had said it. 2017, 2018, 2019. Each year, the same announcement. SARS has now been disbanded. Each year, the same bodies, the same tears. By 2020, people were tired of hashtags and press releases. They left their screens and they filled the streets, demanding real change this time. But to understand why those words carried so much pain, you have to know what SARS really was. SARS, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, it started in 1992. It was meant to stop armed robbery. Back then, crime was out of control. At first, people welcomed them, but power without oversight is a very dangerous thing. Over time, SARS stopped chasing robbers and they started hunting ordinary people. Young men with phones, students with laptops, anyone with dreadlocks, piercings, a nice car. To them, success looked suspicious. They would stop you, search your phone, scroll through your bank app. If they saw a dollar sign, you're a Yahoo boy. They beat people up, detained them, forced them to do money transfers, humiliated them in public. Some victims came back home broken. Others never came home at all. Human rights groups documented it for years. Torture, extortion, disappearances. Real names, real families. Chijoke, 20 years old, arrested at a naming ceremony in Anambra State. Never seen again. Kolade Johnson, shot while watching football in Lagos. Teenager Tina Ezekwe, killed by police gunfire. These were different years, same story. Grief had started to sound familiar to Nigerians. And nowhere was it worse than Anambra State. Okuzo SARS. Just hearing the name, it made people's hearts stop. It wasn't a police station. It was more like a slaughterhouse. Families said that their sons were taken there and never seen again. In 2013, dozens of bodies were found floating in the Ezu River nearby. Locals and activists alleged that they were detainees from Okuzo SARS, dumped at night to hide the evidence. The man in charge then, CSP James Nwafo, he was repeatedly named in petitions. One family even alleged that he told them, "I killed your son. Go and look for his body in the river." No investigation ever brought justice. No one was prosecuted. By 2020, stories like this had piled up everywhere. Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, everywhere. So when a video surfaced from Ughelli, Delta State, showing SARS officers dragging two men from a car and people heard a shot, people just snapped. That was like the final straw. The outrage began online first. Hashtags like End SARS, End Police Brutality, they filled up every timeline. But something different happened this time. People got organized. The Feminist Coalition, a group of young women, they started raising money online. They posted every receipt for everything that they paid. They fed protesters, paid hospital bills, bailed people out. Doctors volunteered. Lawyers waited by their phones. Tech workers, they built helplines and live maps. For a moment, it felt like the country was healing itself. Different tribes, different religions, the same dream. No more fear. Then came the phrase, Sorosoke, speak up. It wasn't just a slogan, it was a heartbeat. Protesters said it, they tweeted it, they broadcasted it. It became the voice of the movement. For 12 days, the protests were peaceful. People even cleaned up after themselves each day. They sang the anthem, they waved the flag. It was young people building the Nigeria that they wanted, right there on the street. Soon, new faces started showing up. Men with sticks, bottles, machetes. Some arrived in buses that people swore carried government markings. They tore banners, smashed cars, vandalized everywhere, and they vanished with the police standing right there looking at them. That was when the story began to twist online. Headlines flipped from peaceful protesters to violent mobs. The same leaders who had ignored the marches, they now called the protesters criminals, even though the violence had walked in under their watch. Then came the arrests. Police trucks filled up faster than anybody could imagine. Across cities, protesters were rounded up, hundreds detained, beaten, denied lawyers. Volunteer lawyers were hardly sleeping. They were going from station to station trying to free people. The message was clear. In Nigeria, even a chant could cost you your freedom. Then came October 20th, 2020. Lagos announced a 24-hour curfew. First 4 p.m., then moved to 9 p.m. Traffic was chaos. People were still on the roads. Then at the Lekki Toll Gate, protesters stayed. They sat on the ground waving Nigerian flags, singing the anthem. As night fell, the floodlights went off. The billboard above the plaza went dark. Cameras stopped recording around 8 p.m. Then the trucks rolled in. Soldiers, uniformed, armed. They faced a seated crowd and they opened fire. Panic, screaming, people running, hiding, bleeding. DJ Switch streamed live on Instagram. Thousands watched as gunshots echoed through the night. Protesters, they used those same flags that they had been waving to bandage people's wounds. Across town at Alausa, Ikeja, police also opened fire. 2 sites, 1 night. When the shooting stopped, confusion took over. Some protesters, they made it to hospitals, others ran, they never came home. In the following days, parents and friends, they went from police stations to morgues to hospitals, clutching photos, begging for news, asking for their loved ones. Dozens of names were listed as missing. Some families, they eventually found their loved ones dead in morgues. Many never found their loved ones. Weeks later, those same families, they appeared before the Lagos Judicial Panel holding pictures and giving testimony, trying to prove that their children had existed even when the state refused to admit that they were gone. By the morning after the shooting, officials said nobody died. The army said that they fired only blanks, but doctors told another story. Hospitals like Reddington, they treated people with gunshot wounds all night. Investigators later found 762 by 39mm live rounds, ammunition that Nigeria had imported from Serbia. Blanks don't leave those behind. Amnesty International, they confirmed at least 12 deaths at that night in Lekki and Alausa. A Lagos Judicial Panel later reviewed the evidence, videos, medical records, testimonies. It found that live rounds were used on unarmed citizens and that attempts were made to cover it up. The state's white paper, they rejected those findings. So 2 reports, 2 realities. After that night, Lagos burned. Government buildings, buses, police stations, even warehouses full of COVID palliatives that had been locked away for months. Protesters tried to stop the chaos, but it was too late. The movement had collapsed under the weight of confusion and fear. Then the punishment moved online. Bank accounts of protest supporters were frozen, passports were seized, broadcasters were fined for showing the shootings, and finally, the government silenced the very platform that carried the movement, Twitter. For over 7 months, Nigerians were cut off. People used VPNs, they whispered through new apps, they kept talking anyway. A regional court later ruled the ban unlawful, but by then the message was clear. Speak up and we'll pull the plug on any social media we want. The judicial panels continued, witnesses testified, some families got small compensation, but for the dead, for the missing, no soldier or police officer ever stood trial. And then in 2023, a leaked Lagos memo about the mass burial of 103 bodies from the End SARS period surfaced. Officials insisted that those were not Lekki victims. But for the families of those who went missing that week, and for anyone still waiting to learn what happened to their loved ones, they are still waiting for names. Yet, even through all of that, something powerful remained. End SARS, it wasn't just a protest. It was a lesson. It taught Nigerians how to document, how to organize, how to demand better, and not back down. It gave the world a phrase that they can't unhear. Sorosoke, speak up. Every October 20th, people gather with candles, they sing the anthem that was cut short that day by gunfire. They remember what they saw. They remember the people. And they also remember what they were told that they did not see. Because all they ever asked for was simple. End SARS. The protests might have ended, but the questions never did. Who gave the order? Who carried it out? And what kind of country has to beg its protectors to stop hurting its own people? Until those questions are answered, End SARS, it wasn't just a memory. I think it's a promise that Nigeria still owes its youth. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like stories like this, please follow me. I tell these stories all the time on all my social media. Thank you.